Hello and welcome, Joe. I'm super excited to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm stoked to be here and honored and blessed that you've chosen us to be on your show.
I mean, people who are going to listen, they can't see you've got your what's it called now? Blanking on the word.
Logo.
Well, yeah. Basic way. It kind of shows already where we're going. But before we go there, why don't you give people like the 2 minute bird's eye overview where you're based and what's your business?
Copy that. So I'm Joe Gianti. I'm the CEO and founder of Canine Heroes for Heroes. We're based out of the United States in Northeast Ohio. Our mission is to provide service dogs to veterans and first responders at no cost to them. So we have found the absolute benefit these dogs can have in the lives of our veterans and first responders, giving them the life they want to get back to. So that's kind of what we are. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, so we are completely funded through charitable donations. And we have a full service kennel that we partner with called American Canine Dynamics that is close to me, that does anywhere from pet obedience up to police dogs. And then, of course, not all our service dogs they train. So, and I help as well, obviously.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I always find, people in the military, they get trained to go out into combat, but they're
Yeah.
not really getting a lot of support when they come back.
Yeah, I found that as well. I'm a veteran support organization. I'm not a veteran. So that's one of the things I make clear right off the bat, because I have such respect and admiration for anybody that has put on the uniform. Now, as you and I spoke, they're not going to see the video, but I'm a little gray in the beard, so I'm too old to serve now. This is how I'm going to give back. And how I got into this space was growing up as a lifelong martial artist. My instructor was a police officer. Then I spent some time at the Virginia Military Institute. A lot of the guys I went to school with ended up going in the service. Buddies from high school, and my father was in the military as well. So that military and first responder has been part of my life. I just chose a different path early on in life. And that admiration and love for what they do. And I always tell a veteran, sometimes I'll hear them say, well, I was just this, or no, there is no just. You put on the uniform. I didn't. There are many that did not. No matter what you did in the service, you served. No matter what you did as a first responder, you're serving. So as they say, the military protects our freedom. The first responders protect our life day to day. So that's why I got into this space. And I know, if you follow me on social media, you'll see often pictures of myself and Loki. Loki's my service dog, and Loki's the face of the business because people want to look at his face, not mine. Can't blame him at all on that one. So he's a good ambassador for the business, and I know what he does for me. And I know we don't compare traumas, that you're not supposed to do all that, but I haven't been through anything compared to what these military and first responders have been through. But I know what Loki does for me. I'm a better person because that dog's in my life. If he's not with me, I'm not happy. It's rare that he's not with me. He goes everywhere. You and I spoke a little earlier. He was at the gym with me this morning. He goes to the store with us. He goes grocery shopping and out to restaurants. And what these dogs can bring to our veterans and first responders is unbelievable. Their abilities, and you know this as well as I do, are boundless. It seems like we're teaching dogs something new every day.
Yeah. I'm curious about two things. Like you sort of, hinted at what these dogs bring to, veterans' lives. So basically, when somebody struggles with trauma, whatever the kind, whatever the trauma is, so what do you find are the main or perhaps unexpected things that a dog brings? And also what makes a dog a service dog?
So one of the things I think it brings up to a lot of them is that sense of purpose again.
Mm.
And they're no longer just caring for themselves. They have another living being to care for. So what these dogs do, it varies depending on what the individual needs, but all of our dogs are given some basic foundations. One of the important things, and I'm working on it with Loki, and it's not something I need at the moment, but I train him for it. It's deep pressure therapy. So the dog, whatever the trigger of the individual is, whether they freeze or handshakes or they tense up, the dog will sense it, and the dog will either lay on the person, nudge the person to break their concentration on whatever they're on now. Okay, now I've got to focus on my dog. So what makes a service dog? They have to perform 3 tasks. That's the American with Disabilities Act. I don't know if it's different, in other countries, but they have to perform at least 3 tasks for that individual. So we've got the deep pressure therapy. Does the dog need to go and pick up your keys or your medicine? Or a lot of times, if a veteran or a first responder's out in public and they're a little tense because a large crowd, will teach a block and a cover. The dog may be behind you. So now that space behind you is safe, or he'll be in front of you. And now you've got that distance in front. One of the things I've actually worked on with Loki is he'll do a center between my legs, but his face will be behind me. So I've got the comfort of him between my legs. I know I've got distance in front of me, but I also know he's looking behind me. Or if he's in that cover in front of me or block in front of me, he'll be looking behind. So that's something we've worked on. It's just a way of giving that individual that sense of comfort and support when they're out. Now, it's not an emotional sport animal because there's a difference. They're doing an actual task. And that leads into kind of another thing. People often ask, well, why shouldn't you pet, talk to, or acknowledge a service dog? Service dog is working.
Yeah.
If that dog, if you're letting somebody pet your service dog, now that dog's going to look outward for support, for love and affection, and it breaks them from their job. So that's why you don't want to pet a service dog or even acknowledge. A lot of times I'll tell people, can you please just ignore my dog? He's working.
Yeah.
And that way he's doing his job. Now, Loki knows, and we teach this, when the vest is on, I'm working. When the vest is off, I'm a puppy. And initially when we trained, made a big deal of that vest going on and him knowing, okay, I'm in work mode. And before we get out of the car, I'll say harness. He dips his head in the harness. We put it on. And he goes into work mode.
I love that. Actually, I used to have a neighbor who was blind and he had a guide dog.
That's
And,
amazing.
cute as hell, right? It was so difficult not to
Oh,
try and, but yeah, so
that
you kind of know, like, you're not allowed to because, yeah, he might
yeah,
fall over because he's not looking at
and that's it.
where his person's going, right?
It is hard for people not to want to pet a dog. Me too. I want to go out and pet every dog I see. I love them all. But what I love hearing now, and I'm starting to hear more of it, when I'm out in public walking with Loki and a little kid, oh, mommy, daddy, a doggy. And you'll hear the mother or father say, hey, that's a service dog. You can't pet him. And they start explaining why. So that makes me happy that knowledge is starting to get out there. Podcasts like this and some other ones I've been on are going to further get that out there because we don't want to interrupt that dog's task.
Yeah. I mean, so how does one go about teaching? You were mentioning before, somebody was actually trying to. So if I was to think, well, actually, Spanish Mastiff puppy layer might make a good service dog. Like, how does one go about teach a dog those tasks?
So we start from a puppy in our organization. Now there's people that take rescue dogs, and God bless that they do. But I'm a small startup, so I want to know the complete history and provenance of a dog. So we're raising them as puppies. We're doing that conditioning. We're getting them out in public. We're socializing them, seeing how they react in public and to other dogs as well. People don't like Loki doesn't go play with very many other dogs. They don't need that. Socialization is just being in the same space, not wanting to go and fight each other or even go up and sniff each other. So we're checking the temperament of the dog. We're seeing what kind of drive do they have. You and I kind of spoke a little bit earlier. I get asked, are all our service dogs German Shepherds? No, not at all. Loki is a very high drive, working line German Shepherd. You can't give that to somebody that's not very mobile or not very active because it's just going to be a recipe for failure. So there's that, you're socializing them. You're using food lures and treat lures as you begin that training and just seeing how their temperament is. Do they have what's necessary? And then we pick the dog for the individual. There's people we've had come up and say, oh, I want a Belgian Malinois. Well, do you want a dog on crack that you're going to have to deal with every day of your life and he's high drive, there's no off switch? It's sometimes people see the dogs on the TV, they see them in the movies. I want that dog. Yeah, but that may not be what's best for you. And our ultimate goal is what is best for them and to steer them in that direction. No, we think chocolate lab, golden doodle, golden retriever, whatever the dog may be, that's what we think is best for you. And then the cost of these dogs varies depending on what they're being asked to do. So you can go anywhere. We give a range of like $15,000 to $30,000, all depending on what tasks you're asking these dogs to do, because it's a lifelong learning process for them. And you have to constantly be working with them so that they know what you want. I always say if Loki's not doing something correctly, it's because I failed to properly teach him how to do it. It's not his fault. He can only do what I taught him how to do.
Yeah.
So,
So do I understand this correctly? Like your company, what you do is you train the dogs and you match them up
yes.
with a
So we
person
have
and then
we
train
have,
the person, right? Like, because
yes.
that would be not a
Oh,
big part too, right?
the hardest part about training any dog is training the person, because they have to be consistent. You are absolutely right. So we'll give all the dogs this foundation. They'll have the basic obedience, the sit, the stay, the down, the retrieve. But then we start gearing them towards tasks. They'll all get the block and cover and the deep pressure therapy. And then we'll start expanding upon that. Yes. So once we have that, the veteran or first responder will come in and start working with the dog as well, so that they know what the dog's commands are. And, we continue that training as well when they're done and we send you home. It's not just, here's your dog, get out, don't ever come back. You become part of the Canine Heroes for Heroes and American Canine Dynamics family. And we're going to have that follow-up care, that follow-up service. The blessing is I've collaborated with many other nonprofit service dog companies, and one in particular called Mutts with a Mission, which is in Southern United States, said, hey, why should you start your application process from scratch? Here's ours, make it work for you. So they gave, it was a 20-page document. They said, here, change it and make it work what works for you. So what a blessing that was. And, another one, Forgotten Coast Canines, they're in Florida. They did basically the same thing. I've had a lot of mentors in this, which is just wonderful, because again, why start over? And
that
I
makes
don't,
such a difference, doesn't it?
oh,
Like,
it's night and day. There's another one called Project Canine Hero. They're a huge nonprofit. They provide medical care, rehab, and rehoming for military working dogs. I mean, they're huge. They bring in millions in donations. I don't think I had started Canine Heroes for Heroes more than a month. The CEO and founder of that reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, how can I help you?
wow.
And we had a conversation. So it's been a blessing, the people I've run across, people like yourselves who are trying to get that word out there. We got to give Michael a shout out. He got us in contact with each other, and there's going to be many more events we're going to do together. The goal is I don't have to be the person to provide every dog. I just want to help you get one. If I get a call or a text or an email from a veteran or first responder not near me, I give them other organizations they can reach out that might be able to help them faster, and it'll be closer to them.
Yeah, I think that's such an important piece, right? To build that network, because I
Yes.
always find like all good things come through people you know. And if somebody comes like recommended, there's already a
Absolutely.
trusted relationship. It's a whole different starting
Yeah.
point as if somebody, emails you out of the blue,
Yeah,
So
you're
I think
absolutely,
building
yeah.
that network is critical.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If, Michael introduced us together. Hey,
Yeah,
if Michael gives you the stamp of approval, that's good enough for me. I know
yeah,
I've got several people that vice versa. If I say, hey, this guy's a friend of mine, or vice versa, okay, yeah, it gives you that extra set of comfort knowing you're already starting off with a good, reputable company. And that's the thing, good, reputable company. Our goal is to put out, yeah, we're going to get as many dogs out there as we can, but we want quality dogs. So we're not going to rush them. Dogs come back sometimes. It's not a good fit. It doesn't pair up well. They'll come back. It's just part of the nature of the business.
I mean, I'm a bit like you. It's like, okay, so who got disqualified, like the owner or the dog, right? Or is it the
We've
match, or
we've
where
had,
if there are problems, like, I mean, I guess you never know, like until you
yeah,
actually try it, but
you can have both. You can have the
mm,
dog and the individual be disqualified. The application process is pretty extensive. We need to know that you can actually take care of this dog in a
yeah.
safe, healthy, positive way. So I've had people come. We attend a lot of events, and I've had people come by the booth we're at, and you just know it would not be in the dog's best interest, or a dog's best interest, to go with that individual. And that's a hard pill for them to swallow sometimes, but I'm going to make people angry. I know I can't make everybody happy. So I'm going to do the best I can. And however that plays out is how it plays out.
Yeah. But I mean, the last thing you want is to give a dog to somebody who doesn't take care of them well,
Right.
right? So I think
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody
it's
that's
sort
going to
of
be
the
abusive.
baseline's pretty simple in that way, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. We need to know you can care for it. We need to know that you want it. We're going to be doing a post on November 10th, which is the Marine Corps birthday, on a dog that we were able to place with an individual as it's more of an emotional support dog. He wasn't looking for a dog, and the dog wasn't necessarily looking, well, the dog was looking for a new home, but now they can't, they're inseparable. So it was nice to know we could help beyond the service dog. We found a dog that needed a new home, and you'll see why on the 10th, and an individual that, yeah, you know what, I'll take them. And then it just became a pair that, yeah. So we want to be a resource for as many things as we can, whether it's just knowledge base. And I tell these veterans and first responders, I know I have not been what you've been through, but I can be an ear to hear, and I can be an active participant in the conversation, or I can just listen. And there are so many veteran support organizations, individuals like myself out there that are willing to do that. Even though we don't have your same experiences, we're here for you. We'd rather hear you than go to your funeral.
Not the truth. So where can people get in touch? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah. So right now, the best way is through social media, either on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. We're K9 Heroes for Heroes. It's the letter K, number 9, and the number 4. Still working on the web page, but yeah, so social media is the best way right now. Or if you go on any social media, my email, my phone number, everything's on there. Shoot me a text, shoot me an email, smoke signals, whatever you got. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I kind of can't wait to continue that conversation, because I think it's such important work and really heartwarming on all fronts. For all.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to working with you a lot more in the future too. I know we've got some things planned for the not too distant future.
For sure.